So you want to get a ball python. Let's talk about what you need to know about keeping these guys. What's up, everybody? I'm Jeremy. You guys are watching Morphs. This week's video, we are going to go over the care of one of the most popular species of snakes in our hobby, the ball python. Here we have a pastel leopard het desert ghost that I produced this season. Beautiful, beautiful male. Anyway, before we get into this video, I want you guys to hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed already. Hit the like button, hit that notification bell so you're alerted next time I upload another video. And of course, as always, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what content you guys want to see coming up in the near future. And on top of it, let me know if this video helped you in any way, shape, or form. I know this is more geared towards people coming into the hobby as opposed to more experienced keepers, but we can always learn something from somebody else that maybe is something we never thought of. So let's get into this video and let's hit it. All right, so let's go over a little bit about the ball python itself. They're native to Africa. Their natural place where they live normally is in termite mounds there in Africa. So they like small, dark, confined spaces, which is part of the reason why they do so well in like rack systems. As a little bit more on them, their size, something that everybody needs to keep in mind is that these guys get between 3 to 6 feet long. Males are normally more towards the I'd say 3 to 4 foot range, and your females get like 4 or 5, right around there. A big ball python is 6 foot. That's a big snake for a ball python. Their lifespan is about 20 to 30 years. As with anything, you're going to have some that live more on the longer side. You're going to have some that live more on the shorter end. So a good average is 20 to 30 years of a life expectancy for these snakes, which is one of the reasons why I think they're so great, because you do get to enjoy them for so long. And another thing on top of it that makes them so great is there's so many different color morphs. Here, as you saw earlier, I had a pastel leopard out. That's het desert ghost. This is his brother, which is a pewter leopard. So cinnamon, pastel, and leopard, het desert ghost. And you can see just one gene completely changed the color of the snake. And there's over 200 color morphs at the point of me making this video. I mean, there's just so many different morphs and colors to pick from with these guys. There's something out there for everybody. That is one of the key things that makes these snakes so great and so popular. On top of their size, they're super manageable for one person to, handle and deal with. And then their temperament. I mean, their temperament, they're just very docile. They are easygoing, and they're not very nippy at all. Every once in a while, you do come across a hatchling that might be nippy, but for the most part, folks, these guys are just amazing pets, and I don't worry at all about being bit by these guys. They are just super friendly, and like I said, super docile. And I absolutely love ball pythons, if you can't tell. But look at that color and that pattern. Awesome snake. So let's go over some of the things everyone needs to know about caring for these awesome snakes. Their enclosure can be anything from a glass tank or terrarium type of deal to a rack system like you see behind me here. That's my hatchling rack. As they grow, they do get into bigger tubs, just like if you go with the glass tank route. As they grow, they're going to need a bigger enclosure. For hatchlings, I would suggest going with something like a 20-gallon long tank. Gives them more than enough space to crawl around and get some exercise. And as they grow, you may end up needing to get you're going to end up probably needing to get at least a 40-gallon tank. If not, maybe a 75, depending on how big your snake does indeed get. I actually have a basic setup video for ball pythons, so I'll include that probably up here in this corner. And that goes over how to set up a basic glass terrarium setup for these guys. All right, let's go over temps and humidity. For temperatures, you're going to want an ambient between 75 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and you're going to want a hot spot of no more than 90 degrees Fahrenheit. I suggest using belly heat for these guys, They're not arboreal by any means, so the belly heat is very important to their ability to digest their prey. So you're going to want to give them belly heat. So with doing that, you're going to need a heat mat, and you're going to have to hook that heat mat up to a thermostat of some sort, because you never use any heat source without a thermostat to regulate it, to make sure that you don't essentially cook your snake. So that's a very big important thing to remember. Like I said, 90-degree hot spot with belly heat, and an ambient between 75 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. For humidity, you're going to want to keep these guys at right around between 50 and 60% humidity. It's very important for their ability to shed, and just that way they don't get any respiratory infections or anything like that. Humidity is a big key factor, just as much as temperature. If you have too much humidity or not enough, these guys will develop respiratory infections, which is not fun or pleasant for the snake, let alone for you, the keeper, to have to deal with. So keep that in mind. 50 to 60% humidity. During sheds, you might need to mist a little bit or bump that humidity up more towards the 60%. I try to keep an ambient of about 55% humidity. So that's just basic. Humidity and temps are very important to these guys, and it's key to their success and for them to thrive. And to keep tabs on what's going on as far as temps and humidity, I suggest using like a thermometer or and hygrometer mixture. Definitely go the digital route. Do not go those little dial things. They're not accurate at all. But get a nice digital thermometer and hygrometer. Zilla makes a really good one. I've used it all the time for my carpet pythons. Comes with two probes. One does the temp, the other does the humidity. And it's fairly accurate, actually, believe it or not. I'm very impressed with them, and I highly suggest to use them. It lets you go on, and it lets you know what's going on in the enclosure as far as not only an ambient and cool temp, but also lets you know where your humidity is at in the enclosure, which is super important. So definitely pick one of those up. Look at this. This is actually an Orange Dream clown that's possibly fire, which I do think she has fire in her because of all that blushing on the top, but she is just gorgeous. We are raising her up. I'm going to put her to use in our clown projects here in the near future. So let's go over the essentials that you're going to need to keep these guys. You're going to need 2 caves, one for the hot end, one for the cold end. So that way they have a nice safe place to hide on either end that they decide to go to, so that way they don't feel like they have to be on one end or the other. You're going to need a water bowl, because these guys do indeed drink water like most living things. And you're going to need something, you can give them something to crawl on. If you want to put some branches or something in there, they're not necessarily going to climb up high. They may climb a little bit if you do give them the opportunity. But for the most part, these guys like to stay on the ground. So I always kind of put like a hide in the middle, so that way they can kind of have the choice between 3 different hides, or even put like a piece of grapevine or something, just something to help them shed even, and just gives them a little bit more exercise, use their muscles a little bit. Another thing you're gonna need is bedding. You're gonna have so many choices as far as different beddings that you can use. I recommend using cocoa chips of some sort, chipped up coconut, and that's what I use. I use Freedom Breeders Cocoa Blocks. It works for me. It's super absorbent, and it helps keep any odor down from when they go to the bathroom. It's just all out a great product, and they don't really, I have yet to have one ingest any of it. It's nice and chunky, so that way it eliminates the issues of them ingesting it. I actually have a substrate review I'll put up in this corner maybe, and that kind of goes over some of the other substrates you can use. There's like cypress mulch that you can use from like Zoobed or another company. Reptile Prime, Brian Barczyk's, it's more of like a ground up coconut substrate. You have all sorts of different options and choices you can go with, but I do recommend using the cocoa chips because I have had great success with it. All right, let's go over feeding and water now. With water, you're going to want to give them fresh water at least every couple of days. Let's face it, no one wants to drink old yucky water, so you want to keep giving them fresh water. Even if I know a lot of times what I'll do is I fill their water bowl up so far, and then a couple days into the week, I'll top it off, and then a couple days after that is when they get a full out, clean, full fresh, clean water change, and it's worked rather well for me going that route. But as far as feeding goes, everybody used to think that you had to feed these guys once a week, and that is just not so. That's actually technically overfeeding. What I do is I feed every other week. Hatchlings, until they hit about 200 grams, I do feed every week. I will say that. But after they hit that 200 gram mark and I know they're on food and doing well for me, I switch them over to every other week, because there's so many different changes that go on in a ball python's body for digestion. Like their heart enlarges, their plasma gets thicker. There's just a whole bunch that goes on that is physically stressing to them. And feeding them every other week kind of allows their body to go back to a somewhat normal state, periodically. So that way their body isn't under constant stress. And I have had no issues from switching over. All my snakes are still in great body condition. As you can see, I mean, this guy's been going at it pretty good with the breeding season. He's still great body condition, nice and an athletic build. The females are still nice and chunky. So feeding every other week has been great for me and great for the snakes. I don't go through as much food as often or as quickly. And these guys are just doing great on it, and they're growing great. I mean, look, beautiful, beautiful snake. This is actually a GHI Mojave male. This is Drogon. But I don't see a need to feed every week for an adult or sub-adult ball python. I really don't. Every other week is more than enough, because you figure out in the wild, they are not going to get a meal every week. It's just not going to happen. So their bodies have been designed to, deal with going for periods without food. And on top of it, if you feed every other week, it allows that snake to actually make use of all that rodent that it's eaten. So instead of cramming another rodent down there and then the snake's body basically trying to shove the first rodent out, it doesn't make good, effective use of what it's taking in if you're feeding every week, in my opinion. Everyone has their own way of doing it. If you want to feed every week, that is completely up to you. And if it works for you, that's fine. I just recommend feeding every other week for these guys. And like I said, it's worked wonders for me so far. All right, let's go over some of the tools you're going to need. Some of the tools you're going to need is, for one, a temp gun. It makes checking temperatures so much easier, and it just makes everything go so much smoother. So I recommend getting a temp gun. Also, feeding tongs. I'd recommend not trying to feed these guys if you're feeding frozen thaw by holding on to the rodent itself. I mean, if you want to tempt it, that's up to you, but you're risking getting bit, which in turn actually risks hurting the snake, because they could break a tooth off on you or something like that. So it's just a lot easier and safer if you feed while using tongs. This is actually our desert ghost male, Elias, and for whatever reason, he just wants to come and be all up in my face. And on top of that, you're also going to want to use thermostats. I consider that a tool as well. Every heat source needs to be on a thermostat. I know I said about that earlier in the care section, but I can't stress thermostats enough. I'll actually include a link up here in this corner to my review of Herbstats thermostats. I strongly and highly recommend using those. I love those. I do have ZooMed thermostats as well that I use for my carpet pythons, since my carpets are still in glass enclosures, just simply because they like to climb, and I had glass enclosures sitting around, so figured make use of them. All right, everybody, I hope this video helped you out immensely if you were thinking about getting a ball python, and now hopefully you know everything that you need in order to successfully keep and raise one of these beautiful, beautiful snakes up. Ball pythons are just one of the greatest snakes, I think, out there. I mean, look at this. This is an orange dream bumblebee. Possibly has fire in it as well. Beautiful, beautiful snake. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Definitely hit that subscribe button. All the support is greatly appreciated. And also don't forget, every Sunday here at Morphs, we have a live that goes on at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We always have new breeders coming in and being guests on the show, and every once in a while I do like a solo show just to kind of communicate a little bit more one-on-one with my audience. So don't be afraid to come in, check it out, and we'll catch you next time, everybody. Take it easy. Take care. Later.